Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the rank 1 Terran player in the world, the Protoss in the red. It's Team Liquid's Clem, facing off against the former world champion Terran in the blue. We have Micro Jackson, ByuN, in a best of 5 Terran versus Protoss showdown, and Clem's first opportunity on the new StarCraft 2 balance patch to prove that he can play 2 races better than anyone else can play 1. So before we get started, and appears we're getting started very early, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. Help me kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Yeah, of course he's practicing. 1,725 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better, as Clem dealing with a bit of an odd cheese to start things off, though I'm sure it'll pair well with the balance wine, which you can probably find if you just scroll down to the comments a little bit. But he saw 2 SCVs come back home with the first probe, and of course the Reaper hunted it down. A Reaper build to start things off. A bit of a saucy cheese here. I was gonna say spicy, but that didn't seem accurate, as this is not something intending to take Clem completely off guard, but still just kind of dictate the pace of the game. And a Stalker comes out, but 3 Reapers should be enough. He tries to body block the vision in between the rocks in the center of the map, but the Reapers will surround and take out the Stalker. And now you wait just a little while and they'll heal in much the same way Protoss cannot. So a freebie there to start things off, and ByuN with a small victory that will gain map control for the foreseeable future. Well, I foresee until pretty much Warp Gate is done, at which point it becomes a little easier for Clem to have enough out on the field. But 3 Reapers can take out any individual gateway unit, as ByuN demonstrated for us very conveniently, though this slows down the rest of the economy pretty significantly. Clem obviously didn't take this too seriously, as he already has the expansion done, but ByuN has a command center in his main. He was a bit concerned about the counterattack potential. The ByuNker on the high ground and now on the low. So clearly making sure that Clem and his potential counterattack is not going to be an existential threat, but instead something he can deal with relatively easily. It's going to be a Whittle Mine on the way. He's going for kind of the bare bones 2-1-1. Floated the barracks back home, slapped down the tech lab, and already started the stim, because with ByuN, it's only a matter of time until we get 2 medevacs with a bunch of Marines. So, the command center floating down, and we have a moment to talk about the new patch. I'm not going to read off the patch notes like I have in half a dozen videos so far, but I do think the most relevant ones are going to be the changes to the Ghost and to Storm. Clem, definitely a proponent of the max pack style of Protoss. In fact, until the last few months, it felt like Clem was just a copy-pasted version of Max Pax's early game in Protoss versus Terran. For those wondering why Clem is playing Protoss, this isn't some sort of protest, but instead, because Clem's worst matchup was Terran versus Terran, he did what other players have theorized, but have not been able to put into practice. He just started playing another race, which it's legal. You could do it. In fact, we had to consult the rule book a few times to make sure that was something he could pull off, but most tournaments only have rules about picking a race either at the start of a series, sometimes just at the start of a game. So, and so far, no one's really called him on it. It's not like ByuN's like, oh, you're gonna play Protoss? I'm gonna play Zerg. And then we have to go ring around the rosy like it's Age of Empires or something. No. So far, and historically, Clem's Protoss versus Terran is now decisively better than his Terran versus Terran was. And he's arguably the second, maybe third best Protoss versus Terran player in the world. And also, it's very hard to gauge because we don't yet have the technology for Clem to play with or against himself. So most other Protoss have to play against Clem, but Clem has an advantage in that he does not have to. All right, while you're puzzling that out, the Reapers just kind of died. I thought ByuN would send in the medevac drop and I'd have to cut off that whole spiel, but he didn't. He just sent the Reapers in and they just died, which was very anticlimactic and so kind of unexpected that now we're just hearing about it like 30 seconds later. Well, Storm is already on the way. Storm with a larger radius, though a shorter cast range, making it a little bit harder to get the Templar close. Energy recharge with only 50 energy, but on a 45-second cooldown, as opposed to 100 on a 1-minute cooldown. So generally, Storm is less devastating with the initial burst, but it's more like a very dangerous force field. It's less of a tornado and more of a hurricane now. Though, in my opinion, the new Storm is a nerf against Terran and a buff against Xur, because Terran has Ghosts, which now have 25 more HP and only cost 2 supply instead of 3. But they're light units, which means Colossi do slightly more damage to them. There are no other units. If somebody comes in here and tells you, what about Adepts and Oracles, Winter? You can tell them, okay, get out of the unit tester and play a real game. But the only 3 units that do bonus damage to light are Colossi, Adepts, and Oracles for Protoss. And 2 out of 3 of those should not be fighting Ghosts for one reason or another at any time. There you go, energy recharge on some more of the Templar. It's already done. So ByuN with that little 3-per play, but really 2 observers taken out. Otherwise, he waited so long with this Widowmine drop. Was it intentional, or did he just remember he had it? Either way, coming in, 1, 2, 3 pronged attack for ByuN. Okay, let's give him some credit here. And completely blindsides him. He's tearing through the 3rd, and Clem took the bait. 11 probes dead. The warp prism bruised. The Marines are in the main. 17, 20 probes. It's a disaster as ByuN hits them with the triple pronged attacks. And Clem just, well, those observers were taken out. Another one showed up, but he didn't anticipate. And what he doesn't know, well, as we know, the map is dark and clearly full of Terrans. Clem blindsided by the army and takes critical economic damage. He's chrono boosting out probes to catch up, but ByuN already has a 3rd command center on the way. And getting this much damage done with Storm already completed, a great start for ByuN, who struggled against Clem's Protoss. Oh, okay. Awkward. Somebody flying around out here. Just keeping an eye. The double drop in the corner. Kind of pinned back as the Blink Stalkers can potentially intercept. Another observer out there. Did he spot it? So far, he's been doing an incredible job of sniping. In fact, he's right under... Yep. All right, he's observer hunting. But Clem might try to take advantage of that, as there's no vision here. ByuN sending a Marine out, but it's a little bit too late in order to spot for the army. Clem on the other side, the Storm zoning out much of the army. The Zealots eating some Widowmine hits and splash damage from the siege tank above. Clem tries to get the damage done, but he ends up regretting it immediately. This Storm's not enough. Meanwhile, the drops shut down by a Storm and some Blink Stalkers. But Clem now down 20 supply. Shut down on the attack, and still taking some damage back at home. The one survivor. Wow. Clem clearly... Oh, a Storm! Another benefit of the Storm, which now does 110 damage over 6 seconds. There's some rounding there. Not on the damage, on the time. Instead of 80 over 3, it can now more easily take out units that are not as mobile. So, siege tanks, widow mines that are burrowed, liberators, your mother, in general. It's a little bit easier to take out those units that are probably not going to move away. Of course, at this level, it's very likely players will move out of it. But in my experience so far, you're more likely to take damage on those sort of units. Thankfully for ByuN, Marines, Marauders, Medivacs, and Ghosts are all very mobile units, and those Ghosts with more HP will survive a Storm even if they just bathe in it. I don't know why I did this. Also, don't want to get demonetized. All right, don't want to show off the guns. We have another channel for that. Winter Guns. Goes along with that map here. Winter Madness. Moving on. Also, Vikings cost 25 minerals less. That's it. There's nothing more to it there. Just a straight-up discount for the Vikings, so even though the Colossi might be a better option against the Ghosts, the Vikings a better option in general and cheaper to get to. Combined with the reduced supply on the Ghost, that means the Terran... I hesitate to call it a death ball, but the sheer DPS density, the potential that you have on the Terran army is significantly greater than it was just a few weeks ago. So the Protoss, on the other hand, kind of so far trying to figure out what the actual answer is. And so the most successful style of Protoss that I've seen is more like watching Zerg, with 20 charge lots coming in every possible angle. We'll start with 4, we'll work from there. Storm, he brought the Templar with him. The EMPs, though, on the Prism. Does he have any other empty? Are the charge lots coming in? Thank you for demonstrating, Clem. But the War Prism always ready to stab right into the back of the base the moment you move out. Either anchoring a bunch of supply back at home or potentially getting a ton of economic damage done. So it takes out 12 SCVs. ByuN's at 63. Both sides building up that mid-game army composition. The Vikings try to hunt down the Prism, but he recalled it out already. Scanning for more and more observers. ByuN has killed 3 so far. The Colossi being mixed into the composition. The extended thermal lance is nearly completed. I'm joining it. And so far, mixed bag. Neither player been able to land a lot of critical damage during the mid-game, but Clem is still kind of catching up from the damage he took earlier on. Once we get to 4-something bases with money in the bank, though, the bets are off. Or on, really, depending on who's sponsoring today. Colossi, extended thermal lance now done. Zoning Storm. Storm a good historical and practical counter to the Vikings. But the Prism with a Templar and a few charge lots inside. Viking count being added on. Now 6 Ghosts, 9 Vikings. ByuN nearing a max out. And 2-2 upgrades almost completed. But Clem's going to have +3. EMPs across the board. Those Templar trying to get close. The Storm's also dangerous to the Zealots as well. Tough working relationship there. Meanwhile, some more charge lots trying to come in. Cut off the reinforcements. But the Terran army easily grinding through them. 2-2 now done. +3, +1 for Clem. +2 infantry weapons and armor for ByuN. Alongside +1 ship weapons. And now, we have a fusion core on the way. And I don't think it's for battle cruisers, but instead for those kind of ancillary upgrades. The Caduceus reactor, medevac energy regen, and liberator range. Meanwhile, though, a Storm, but a small group of Bio able to cut it off. Body blocking out with the Stalker Storm. Coats across the Vikings, but they can be repaired. Disruptors on the way. Clem gonna mix in some even more flavors of splash damage in order to try to get the damage done. Disruptors were buffed. 4-second lower cooldown. So you can fire them. If you can keep them alive for 17 seconds, you get another shot. But you might need, because now Ghosts no longer get 1 shot, because Disruptors do 100 damage, and Ghosts have gone from 100 to 125 HP. We'll see if that's enough. A Dark Shrine on the way. 3 more command centers for ByuN. As we go towards the supreme late game here. Caduceus reactor on the fusion core. Now, that medevac energy regen going to be critical because the supply distribution. No, I'm not talking about the logistics of a international packaging network. That's what I came up with? We're going to have to go back to the drawing board on that one. An international packaging network. No. Supply distribution in how many starport units you have and how many units will actually fight back. If you have too many medevacs, which ByuN has been known to do on frequent occasion, he's got 7 of them right now, then you just don't have enough supply left over for the Liberators, for the Vikings, for the Ghosts. But 12 Ghosts, 13 Vikings, a smattering of Bio. Clem gonna try to get the damage done. EMPs on the front line. Vikings knock down one of the Colossi. Meanwhile, charge lots get into the main, gonna warp in another round. There's like 30 supply of bio back at home. He gets a full warp in. The EMP actually hits the Dark Templar. Meanwhile, the ground army, not quite enough to deal with this. Still just blocking forward the Colossi. Disruptor shot, huge hit. Chunks up the bio. Most of the Colossi taken down. But Clem starting to make a lot of progress here on the field. Archons knocks out another Viking on the way out. And ByuN is pretty well bottled up. A Venn diagram of freedom is going to help out. Did he actually start Liberator range? No. There's a fleet beacon now on the way as both sides headed towards Tier 3 in the air. I wonder if we'll see a mothership in Terran versus Protoss. The mothership was nerfed to have slightly slower speed, which, I mean, okay. Now, with that, more Vikings on the field and more ghosts. Mothership a bit more vulnerable, but that was more of a Zerg versus Protoss, I assume. We didn't actually get any rationale with the patch notes. Just Blizzard showed up. Blizzard, not the Balance Council, and said, here are the notes. Actually, they didn't even say that. They just started listing them, which is wild to me. Multi-billion-dollar company, by the way. Anyways, like and subscribe so I can become one. Or some tiny fraction of that. The Liberator's on the high ground. ByuN desperately trying to find another base. But Clem doing a good job denying him thus far. And carriers? Carriers? Wow, okay. Something... Carriers, no change. The fact that Vikings are so prevalent, but... Carriers? I mean... I don't think Tempests are good enough. If you're wondering why not Tempests... against especially the Liberators. Tempests are 4 supply. I'm not even sure one Tempest can take out 2 Vikings, let alone all the ants underneath. So, and carriers have a lot of value. If he's able to wipe out the air army once, if he's able to get him to land his Vikings in a fight, and then show up with the carriers, that's a winning move. EMPs landing across the board. Advanced ballistics done. So there was actually a nerf to the Liberator. My favorite change in the patch, because of how kind of ingenious it is. The Liberator has less vision range, which means now the Liberator can't actually see the edge of its range, unless it has a spotter, like a siege tank. So it makes it, it's kind of irrelevant in a fight, but it makes it a little bit less effective when harassing mineral lines from 2 counties away. I like how well targeted it is. Just like the Zealots on one of the armories of ByuN. It just chops right through it. Gonna delay some of those late game upgrades. Disruptors relegated to destroying missile turrets, which seems like a man of your talents. It's a begrudgingly peaceful life. But the carriers have arrived and are continuing to muster at the front. Clem currently has 7 Nexi, going on 8. ByuN, well, I think ByuN has more than 8 command centers, but he's mining from, what, 3 bases so far? Multiple planetaries. There's like 10 to 12 command centers out there, 7 orbital commands. But an army headed north, a scan. Oh, he sees the carriers producing. That's so important. And +3 ship weapons is already nearly complete. The ship weapons upgrades are critical, because the +2 ship weapons allows you to 2-shot or 1-shot stalkers, depending on if you just EMP'd them or not. Making stalkers a nearly a very inefficient counter to the Liberators. Of course, there's a bunch of carriers, so that's definitely going to throw a wrinkle in things here. This is where my packaging network joke would have really worked into it. We're still working on that one. Out for delivery at the moment. Just like these carriers. +3 air weapons just now started for Clem. ByuN, his army, 8 Vikings, 10 Liberators, 10 Ghosts. There's not that much anti-air. I mean, there is, but okay. I have not seen a fight like this on this or the last patch in quite a bit. Meanwhile, Marauder Ghost hit squad. And Clem just going to try to take advantage of the situation, knowing a lot of the army supply is out of position. The carriers trying to fling out the interceptor storm on the Vikings. Gonna knock down the majority. Critical mass of interceptors able to break through. ByuN will be taking out a base to the north. The 12 o'clock is taken down. ByuN holding for now. He has high sec auto tracking. He has building armor. The turrets per minute counter begins to raise. This isn't Bronze League heroes. This is literally the best of the very best. But EMP across the board. Oh, now EMP technically affects interceptors, but you have to target them. If they're inside the carrier, they do not get EMP. Knocks out another Nexus. Probes keep pulling another one out of their backpack and slapping it down. Clem has 7 carriers. Now he's building some Tempest to have a more direct option. But, will we get to see battle cruisers? I don't know if like with Vikings being only 125 minerals and 75 gas, it's hard. Like, that's really good. That's 25 gas more than a Stalker, and it beats a Stalker on the ground, and of course, is quite good against things in the air. A nuclear missile is on the way. The factory blocking the base to the top right corner. Half a dozen more turrets being produced. The turret push going forward. An Oracle in production. Really, a lot of losses, but in the grand scheme of things, not nearly as much as could have been. Clem has mined 6,000 more minerals, 1,500 more gas. How many bases? Are we getting to the bean counter phase already? This is a rich Vespene base. That's a huge deal. Now, it will mine out more quickly. Rich Vespene means you mine twice as fast, but you have the same amount to start. So it's still one gas geyser. It just mines very quickly, and you get that edge while you're mining it quicker. Now, if we go to the point where we're just trying to figure out how many resources are left, obviously that's not relevant. And losing 8 Stalkers for pretty much nothing is certainly not going to help. But warps in some more storm, but EMP hits him on the way, tries to merge, not to be. A recall to the base, a bold move. He commits so much. He really wants to hold on to this northern base, but look at the fleet. ByuN with a Scandinavia Vikings, and the carriers were abandoned. The EMPs, the Templar, the zoning storms for now, just flings over the top. EMPs hit the rest, wades through the storms. The Stalkers are warped in, but they have to contend with the Marauders, which are just bullying them across the field. Clem clearly overcommitted with the recall, and ByuN is punishing him with great prejudice here. Docks down an Oracle. Most of the carriers have been removed from the field. Archons and Stalkers try to turn it around. Ghost, though, gonna wipe out all the shields and strip away the Archon that easily. Just, Clem kills his own shield. Get out of the way! Oh. What is happening? Does he have tectonic destabilizers? I think we're gonna see it in a moment as Clem realizes he could. That bonus, almost double damage versus buildings, is definitely worth it when your opponent has 23 missile turrets. Yeah. ByuN holding on. He's now mining from the 6... nuclear launch detected! Going for the bottom left corner. And honestly, against this many cannons, that's a super efficient nuke. 100, 100 for a nuke, but if he knocks out... Oh, he gets Stalkers as well! Okay, that was worth it. The storms, the splash damage, a tsunami across the board. The Ghosts in autumn colors, but there's still several medevacs at the army. 15 Vikings trying to knock down some more of the Liberators. Gets a couple, but the Viking fleet... Oh, another storm, but the Vikings, many of them getting repaired between the fights. Enough of them to easily knock the Tempest out of the sky or carriers in a single volley. Oh, no. So many shots. So... to repair a unit, it costs 1/4 of making a new one. It's not 1-to-1. It's very important to repair if you have the opportunity, much like Protoss never do. Technically, Terrans can repair Protoss units in 2v2, but that is not relevant here even a little bit. Just kind of spiteful, maybe. ByuN making a... Okay, so Clem is not maxed out, but he has a lot of gas in the bank. He just lost another Nexus. There's a dozen ghosts on the field, more EMPs. Just wading through the storms, but drowning in them. Loses a lot of Vikings. The EMPs are good, but ByuN just lost most of his Vikings. And with it, the ability to challenge the Tempest directly. The Ghost, not healed enough to survive the Disruptor shot, finishes them off. The brawl continues. Disruptor in a precarious position. And he still doesn't have tectonic destabilizers. There's so much going on right now. But the ability to take down those missile turrets more easily is not... It's definitely worth it. It's just... He has to remember it exists. There's enough Tempest to knock out the turrets, and unfortunately it seems the carriers suffered the fate of so many carriers in the past, which is being a economic liability more than a boon. Very simply, the carriers never allowed to launch enough of their interceptors to tilt the fight in Clem's favor before it's clearly a mistake. You don't want to be sitting in Viking fire for that long. The Disruptor, he's trying to get... He needs the upgrade. He needs tectonic destabilizers. This is taking way too long. He's gonna lose multiple bases. Oh my, he's diving on the planet. He will get it. Does Clem even remember that upgrade exists? He's only a part-time Protoss, but... In the time it takes Clem to take out one base, ByuN's gonna clear 2 and establish another one while keeping his army intact. Clem, I don't think he... In fact, I think ByuN wants him to recall. If he recalls again, it may be the last time. The Vikings spotted an angle over the top, really feeling that cast range nerf on Storm so clearly here. The Vikings, EMPs, the Ghosts, flirting with the storms as Vikings always have. But through all the fire and fury, it's 179 supply apiece. ByuN with minerals in the bank, but almost no gas for those most important units. Clem with plenty of gas, but no minerals to re-expand. And ByuN has taken the center base of the Rich Vespine. With a with a Rich Vespine geyser, which will jumpstart that tech production yet again. Marines aren't gonna cut. All right. Marines are clearly... They've died by the 100. Oh, he lost less than 100, actually. I guess he hasn't built that many. Whiffed it. Beefed it. All right. Oh, so managed to curve it out of the way. Microing too hard for his own good. Actually, the only unit in this composition that disruptors will one-shot is Marines. How many disruptors? 2 underneath, 10 Tempests. Easily enough to one-shot. Still no destabilizers. The Vikings trying to engage. Oh, that Templar EMP'd. I think there's still one storm. More coming in. Vikings rallied the wrong way. Very stressful. Oh, ByuN, look at... He backstabs with the Marines and Marauders. The Vikings trying to engage simultaneously, and ByuN. These armies are dangerous on both sides. Either... Any part of this fight could end the game. So far, only because these two are so incredibly good at juggling these flying grenades is why we haven't. The Warpins, he's gonna try a storm around the corner, just wades through it again. The storm not intimidating those medevac bio units. But Clem clearly does not want to back up. And ByuN, his rally point the wrong direction, though he still has the supply. Rallying 4 or 5 Vikings to their death. There's just not enough energy for Storm. Already used the recharge. He has another one. A little bit late. 1 Tempest in the main. Jockeying for position at the 6 o'clock while simultaneously breaking through into the natural. Cyber Core goes down. We'll see if Clem realizes before it's too late. If he really needs Stalkers, it'll be too late to warp them in. And he's not restarting it. That could be a big mistake. Or at least a big snipe. Not really a mistake. There was no saving it against this army. Well, that was his second Cyber Core. He's fine. All right. A decoy. And for his upgrades, but... The EMPs, but the Disruptor shot returns fire. Both players doing critical damage to one another, and somehow Clem ends up with more supply. But ByuN is now mining from the top right. Well, He's building a command center? Is it take too long to float over there? Maybe you should have that international packaging company to help you out. Stop trying to make international packaging work. It's not gonna happen. We're streets ahead. No. More Templar being sniped, but the Tempest, Archon, and whatever else is under their death ball. Honestly, very hard to tell exactly the unit composition without going to the units tab. There is one Colossus sticking its nose up over everything. There's one Disruptor, an Immortal or two, several Templar, more Storms, the Bio Army in autumn colors. How seasonal, despite the winter nature of the map. And now chasing it down, but more Archons where that came from. Not enough EMP to deal with all of it. Chasing it down, but obviously this opens up the rest of the map for ByuN. He's gonna go forward. The Storms tries a recharge. And maybe buys enough time to save the base. And the gas is already mined out. But the Marauders actually survived. A dozen Tempests on the field. Or above it, if you want to be pedantic. But now ByuN now is mining from the top right corner. He finished that base. Chewing through another planetary. 4 medevacs at a time, 11 Marines. Both players completely broke. Every single unit getting sent into the grinder. And it is still incredibly unclear who will be left at the end. 6 SCVs. ByuN rebuilding SCVs like he has mineral patches to mine from? That's incredibly optimistic. I guess he has enough to justify 50 SCVs, but not much more than that. He's mining from, like, 2.5 bases. Clem? Similar? The times of plenty have ended. And if it goes on like this, we'll not be fighting with Vikings or Liberators. We'll be fighting with Marines and Zealots yet again. But Clem has lost 10,000 more resources, 2,000 more gas. But he's mined 4,000 more gas. Almost exactly the same amount of minerals. Another bio army. You can really feel the ghosts costing that less supply. Though this is maybe not the best example of it, as he only has 6 of them. But being able to split off more in any direction is clearly helping, as there's a Terran army in the natural, a Terran army in the main, a Terran army at the 6 o'clock, and a Terran army down the center. Varying sizes of each, but Clem's struggling to partition his forces in a way that actually deals with any of it. Clem, 7 probes down to 38. The DTs! Finally, the Dark Templar! He used them 20 minutes ago, and now he used them again for the first time in the second half hour of this game. And the DTs helped to clean up the base, some oracles to defend. The map has been cloven in twain. Single DT sent out. How many orbitals? There are 9 orbital commands, so I don't think he's going to be hurting for scans. Actually snipes it mid-map. I mean, if he was sniping observers before, DTs are not much else. ByuN, actually with the income lead. The Disruptors up front, the Storms on the Vikings. And, oh, dangerously close to going down. He's actually committing and loses every single Viking. ByuN strayed too far forward, and now he can't go back. Still no tectonic destabilizers, but the Tempest breaking through. ByuN with just bio in production yet again. The Tempest count at 10. At 6. The Templar count is at 10. How many ghosts? 5? Really? Well, the bio once again hitting the main. The armies are so spread out. So difficult for Clem. He's gonna lose the Templar archives. Warping in more in the main base. Trying to catch some down the center. The Disruptor shot off the mark. Wades through the storm yet again. Fleet Beacon is taken down. No more Tempests. At least for now. The Colossi come back, but that opens up the southern half of the map. Does he have recall? Yes. A Liberator. 9 probes dead. Another base. There's only a few mineral patches and a few hundred minerals left. There's still... What am I watching in the main? The shield battery will keep the Tempest alive, and eventually it'll clean all this up. Meanwhile, the Ghosts trying to... just stutter stepping back. Gets eviscerated by some charge lots. Reinforcements down the center. Clem trying to collapse on the army. Revelation, EMP. Vikings coming out. But how many ghosts are left? 4. Goes forward, tries to snipe the Templar. Merges. The Tempest barely contested. Disruptor shot thrown out for flavor. 144 supply apiece. 35 minutes in. And still somehow no closer to a conclusion. ByuN has been more cost effective, but Clem has been able to maintain more of the field. And even though much of the tech tree has been taken down outright, Clem still has the army to beat. There's only 4 ghosts, only 1 Viking. The 7 Tempests that remain are still enough to potentially win the game. A single Templar, the pre-split, beautifully done. I can't believe it's not butter. Look at that spread. The charge lots. He has +2 shields and 3/3, of course. 3/2 in the sky. The drops come back, but ByuN is mining from the north. He's got another mining base, but he kind of stopped on the... Oh, he's out of gas. He's now mining from 2 bases of gas. Clem needs to stop this. Clem himself mining out of gas. He only has 4 gas guys left on his side of the map. These ones down the center are already mined out. The rocks opened up to give more opportunity. The zealots, some of them cut off and taken down. The scans just keeping tabs on the army. Oh, the EMPs! Oh no! There was no... He scanned 3-4 times, made sure there were no observers. And the EMP wipes out the energy of an entire archives of Templar. But ByuN fighting into the Archons. Where are the rest of the EMPs for the Archons? He forced him into Archons. And the Archons with overwhelming power against just the bio. He needed the EMPs for the Archons. He thought without Storm, I'll be fine. He was not fine. For once, a fight without ghosts. Oh, ByuN. He was so excited to get that EMP. He was so convinced that now he could finally take the huge fight. He scans. Is there even an observer on the map? No, just the Oracle. He gets the huge EMP here. Knocks out all but 1 storm. Wait, he actually knocks that out as well. He sniped it with the Templar, just auto-attacking. But there's still 6 Archons in that 1 storm. And it's just bio. ByuN was so... Oh, ByuN, this is a huge ByuNder. He has 2,000 minerals in the bank. He's mining from 2 bases to the north. Oh, 30 minutes in, and he thought he had it. Clem probably thanking his lucky StarCrafts there, but what a disaster. After 37 minutes, 150 Zealots, 19 Tempests, 50 High Templar, 101 Vikings in 1 victory. For Clem. Wow. If ByuN doesn't try to jump the army there and commit everything, I think that game can go on another 5-10 minutes. We still have another 5-10 minutes of mining. Now, I'm not sure who would have had the advantage there, but Clem will take it, I'm sure. As we go into Game 2 on White Rabbit. Our Matrix map. A reset for ByuN. Go back to 1999. All right, peak. Brood War just came out. Age of Empires 2. We'll just stop there. All right? We'll just keep playing those games forever. Imagine people playing Brood War, Age of Empires 2 today. Don't be ridiculous. Shut up, Jimmy. ByuN baited himself. I'm convinced. Like, Clem, he put the army together, but he could never... I don't actually think he ever successfully attacked ByuN the entire game. Like, he had some moments where the outlying bases were taken out, but he never actually broke through past the very front, like where the Tempest could shell from pretty much the high ground. It's kind of crazy. You can really feel the less potent nature of Storm, the plethora of Vikings. And ByuN's frustration, all combining to give us that result. Wow. You know, kind of gave up on the nukes a while ago, too. I do think ByuN got himself back into Marine Marauder mode and never got out of it. Was making so much progress. You cannot underestimate Archons. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I feel when we have these discussions about spellcasters, we really, especially in the case of Terran and Protoss, because Zerg doesn't have any spellcasters that can shoot. Besides Queens, and let's... Yeah, don't forget us! I don't... Brenda. You were knocked out of the tournament a while ago. Silent treatment. Okay. Ghosts with their auto attack, which is a similar DPS to Marine, so obviously not that efficient, but even better against light units like charge lots. And then, of course, Archons. Now, there's a bunch of big asterisks there. But the ability to convert from a unit with these incredibly powerful spells into another unit, or just be the unit that has a strong attack that must be respected, is undervalued and underdiscussed. Now, the reason why Archons don't feel like the natural kind of follow-up is because Ghosts also counter Archon with their EMP. But Archons have 350 shields, about 350, which is a lot of EMP. EMP hits for only 100 apiece. Only. So what that means is if you're relatively limited on the Ghosts, like ByuN was near the end of the game, you just don't have enough left over for the Archons. And they do a lot of damage. A bonus to biological. And it's easy to forget, but I doubt he'll forget a second time. As we go into the early aggression, a medevac with 6 Marines inside. The Hellions gonna try another angle, but Clem acutely aware of it. Gonna spot it with the probe, but the Hellions running right by. Meanwhile, is there an energy recharge? There is, but he doesn't have the energy itself to recharge. Meanwhile, the Marines in the main. Hellions finding some progress. And he's just targeting. He may be able to delay Blink, because it's just a bunch of Marines. No stim required. Gonna just target, going for the probes. Hellions running in again. Not sure about this one. Down to 1. Gets 5 probes. Okay. 6. Gonna pop up 7 probes. Delays Blink. Refuses to elaborate further. ByuN just going in like he owns the place, and Clem unable to stop him from proving it. Robotics facility. Is it going to be a warp prism? No, not when he has to build pylons to repower his Blink up. Oh, he built... Oh, hero. Oh, sorry. Clem. He rebuilt his pylon, but it didn't power the Twilight Council. Oh, no. And now Blink will be another 15, 20 seconds delayed. The Stalkers are waiting for it, but that's the difference. Well, in this case, that's the difference between the Raven being set up to do auto-turret harass. There's no more units in production because ByuN is installing all his add-ons, like he just downloaded a new version of Firefox here, but... Well, charge is on the way immediately behind Robo Bay and Forge. So Clem headed towards the Colossi instead of the Templar Archives this time around. More gates being filled in. The observer in place. ByuN not slouching on sniping those observers off. Though at this point, with the Blink Stalkers outside and the siege tanks in, the standoff continues. There's no easy way for Clem to get damage done, but if ByuN tries to move out, the Blink Stalkers will poke him all the way across the map. He needs stim, he needs medevacs, otherwise there's really no way to move out reliably. Raven, did he actually finish Interference Matrix? No, he ended up canceling it. I don't know if that was for the benefit of like a hallucinated Phoenix Scout, or if he actually was thinking about it and then decided against it, but there was a lot going on. Observer in place. ByuN forgot combat shield, which is not... Okay, there we go. Just for a moment, then select his Marines. He's like, why do you look naked? I don't know how Terrans forget combat shield, including Clem so much. It's not a lot, but it's enough that I feel justified in mentioning it. It's like 5 to 10% of the time being either severely delayed, like over a minute, or forgotten entirely. Which, I guess rarely if the game goes on long enough do Terrans outright forget it, but this is not an example of that. But it happens a surprising amount. I think what happens is players will queue it up, but then they won't have enough resources and not realize it until significantly later on. Especially if you only have one tech lab to start. But besides that surprisingly effective early pressure, both sides kind of going back to their corners. Clearly quite a macro-oriented map. The Blink Stalkers saying that Raven just got Edgar Allan Poe'd. Please like and subscribe. Ghosts on the way. Vikings as well. SCV Scout coming across as ByuN admitting that maybe he wants to know a little more than he does right now about what direction Clem has taken it. Charge lot slices through it. Just one robotics facility. Second robo on the way now. Was wondering how many we'd end up seeing. Still, the build-up continues. The uneasy truce between them. Partially because the armies are just so dangerous to one another. A lot of the time, at the highest level, as we almost saw last game, Terran versus Protoss ends up in a base trade. Because taking a fight from the wrong angle will lose you the game almost instantly. As, again, we saw last game. It is incredibly hard to take a relatively even fight. And both sides feel uncomfortable with attacking in. Though maybe Clem less so, as he's just going for it. All right, just wanders in with the Zealots. Some more from the north side, trying to take out one of the siege tanks. May get it, but it will cost almost all of the Zealots. No, all of the Zealots. Yeah. Dark Shrine on the way. Double Ruptor production. Interesting. The Disruptors, well, it's not so much that they're not good, I think. But more that, one, Disruptors are more deadly to Protoss than anyone else. They have a bonus against shields. They one-shot every unit but Colossi in this army. And two, controlling them alongside everything else, Blink Stalkers, maybe Templar, Colossi, charge lots, things you don't want to hit with your Disruptors while trying to fire them off, is, well, maybe Clem can pull it off. But, that's the reason why I think you don't see them too often, is They're at best a dangerous option, and at worst, literally shooting yourself in the foot, or the face, or, well, really, the general Protoss area. It doesn't really matter as long as it touches the hitbox, I guess. But the Disruptor's around the corner. Gonna, 0 for 2, Shack at the free throw line. Vikings, finding a lot of damage against the Colossi, but in full retreat now, flings off a fadeaway shot. Decent connection, but one Colossus taken down. Concussive shell somehow works against the Raptors, chases it. Another over the corner, Guardian Shield. And trying to fight on the other side of the vision blocker. Not that it's going to be too relevant with this many air units. Fadeaway shot connects on the Marauders. Enough Colossi to keep the Vikings in the air. DT Blink is now on the way. Ooh, eviscerating some more. Blinks forward. Trying to target down the Vikings. EMPs on the majority of the army. Targets the Disruptor. And oh no, the danger ball is being diffused. But a shot comes through at the last moment, but ByuN is chasing. Ooh. Another Ruptor shot, but backs off. And a Fusion Core is now on the way. Knocks out another observer. The Disruptors, I mean, they're serving their purpose. But so far, ByuN able to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge as needed. The vast majority. And Clem has turned a 30 supply lead into a 5 supply deficit with this one quick trick. Attacking into Terran. Caduceus Reactor on the way. 3-3 for both sides, but ByuN's actually going to have the advantage overall in the +3 infantry weapons and armor. No ship weapons on the way. A bit of an oversight there. But starting to add on more and more command centers, liberators. Clem has most of the bases on his side of the map. In fact, I'd say that's all. There aren't that many bases here. Might get to the bean counter phase even earlier. The DT Blink. Oh, he does not want to go into that. There's no way ByuN doesn't see that. Yeah, he knows. He knows. If ByuN can see individual observers, there's no way he doesn't know about the DTs, but they slice through! Takes down another one. Charge Lot's chasing. Clem has the initiative. He's gonna chase. The Liberator's not sieged. The Vikings not in position. Disruptor shot tries to chase. Liberator zone out for now. Some push-ups with the command center. Another one pulling back as well. Maybe getting some cardio in. More Ruptors, DTs and Disruptors, the double Ds of destruction. Glass cannons across the board, but incredibly dangerous. And blinks away. Able to evade. Clem expanding to like the 11 o'clock position. Starting to get towards ByuN's side of the map, adding more and more gates. 13, 2 more in production, a 3rd robo as well. As he has the money, he just needs to be able to spend it. Snipes off some Vikings. Disruptor covers with the Stalkers. There's another Disruptor that fired way too far away and dangerously close. Almost clipped him in the back. But here come the charge lots. But the Sim City here, making it very difficult to maneuver. The Vikings. Disruptor shot double barrel. And well, I'm looking at ByuN's supply and I'm seeing 199, so I'm not sure how much that actually got done. The DT's coming in. Blinks behind the lines. Colossi stepping forward. Disruptor to the right side. Charge Lots chewing through. The DT's finding some success, but the Liberators finding even more. And ByuN is tearing apart the army. Pops another Ruptor. Knocks down another Colossus. And yet another Disruptor is popped like an overripe tomato, while the Vikings are chased down in turn. Blanc's back. EMP strips away the shields of the Zealots. And will fall back for now. Triple Ruptor production, but ByuN still has so much economy he can continue forward. The planetary fortress building right down the center of the map, and yet again Clem trying to batter down ByuN's defenses. But ByuN looking be unbreakable right now. A Venn diagram of freedom over the top, choking off this entire attack path simultaneously, and Liberator range is about to complete. Colossi being mixed back into the composition as Clem tries to adapt to the unit composition that's currently on the field or above it. Right now, a lack of Vikings and a plentiful amount of Liberators as just annexing the entire center of the map. Meanwhile, the Bio Army, there's not much splash damage at all. And with that last Disruptor going down, targets it, gets the hit, chunks up a lot, but the Liberators are helping out. Still no ship weapons upgrades either in production or on the field for ByuN. But a whole lot of gateway units. ByuN supply lines getting strunk out. But Liberators covering for the reinforcements, but the DTs take down the planetary down the center. But he just floats over another command center. The mining will only be mildly delayed. Clem brawling through the center of the map. Chases down another Liberator, more Marauders. DT is going to take out the missile turrets. Scan supplements the Liberator. DT gets away. Clem still going down the center. Oh, DT strays into range. Clem really trying to play this Zerg style. Lost 5,000 more resources, but he's mined 6,000 more minerals, but slightly less gas. Neither side maxed out, but both continually fighting. We had the no rush 8 minutes into full economy all the time. The charge lots swarming over the Marines and Marauders, but the Liberator's gonna take quite a heavy toll on anything that gets close. He's got 3 of them, finally getting the ship weapons upgrades. The EMPs softening up. DT slicing through. Charge lots filtering in. Disruptor shot over the top. One very unlucky Marauder. But the rest of the army will crumble easily to the Marauders if they're actually able to close in. Clem expanding. He's literally... He's a Zerg. It's full Zerg right now. Clem has... What is this? Nexus number 9. ByuN trying to hold on to the center. And so far, an iron grip. But that means other things slipping through. The DT is around the right side. Colossi starting to lance through the command center. Disruptor shot. Vikings. EMP. More charge lots. Blink Stalkers not targeting the Vikings. Gonna knock down another Colossus. Disruptor comes up short. Viking knocked down. 7 more SCVs killed? I'm not sure if that was at this base or... where the DT was there. I assume there was a DT somewhere. Maybe it was the edge of the center base. But ByuN, he's up against his own base. Clem trying to break through. Disruptor shot chunks up a few more SCVs. DT's blink on the planetary. He does have building armor. And the SCVs are gonna save the day. And at the same time, he goes for no! Oh, the Disruptor from the back. He fired too early. And premature Disruptor shots are absolutely devastating for everyone involved. 10 probes dead. A Liberator over to the left side. Just popping the probes at the base. The Colossi wading through Viking fire. And will be taken down despite the Ruptors and the Stalkers as well. And ByuN, he saves the planetary. He saves the game. Oh my. The Disruptors being targeted at the edge of range. Charge lots cutting back. Disruptor will part the sea. The DT is coming in. Maybe can blink and kill some ghosts. EMP can also reveal them. Clem. He... Clem with a Nexus over to the 3 o'clock and the 11. He's making Whittle mines at the landed factory. ByuN a little spiteful here. Disruptor fires through. Liberator. It does it. So Liberators no longer have the vision, but they can see enough when you siege up there. Disruptor shots killing more Zealots than they do Terran. Clem starting to struggle on every front. The Liberator's killing off more probes. It doesn't matter how many bases you have to mine from if you don't have the probes to do so. He's really trying to go right down the center, but ByuN starting to pull away at the edges. Another base. The DT's working on the factory. The command center disruptor parts the blue sea. The Marauders chunking through. The Ghosts finding the EMPs. The Colossi lancing from max range, but it's not enough to stop another one from being knocked down. Disruptor wanders too far forward. And Marauders, doesn't take much, takes down another Colossus. And Ghosts pull back. Command center waiting for his turn at the base, but I don't think the Protoss are going to play nice about that one. Clem down to 128 supply, and again, these two just laying into one another. Do it. Do it!
Hell, it's about time.
Planetary fortress on the way. ByuN planetary rushing. Well, this is technically supposed to be his base, but like... Oh. Another Liberator. Once again. Death, taxes, and Liberators harassing your 9 o'clock base. The three things guaranteed in StarCraft 2. We're getting taxed for this. This game will be the death of me. One way or another. Like and subscribe to make it true. Wait. And also for Existential Dread. So I'm not sure that's what that was. Meanwhile, 13 probes dead. Clem... So the planetary actually finished. Well, he's gonna deal with this. And this massive distraction sticking out of the 3 o'clock base. ByuN doesn't choose to jump on any more of the next side during it. Which... Well, Clem lost 15 probes, but he replaced them almost instantaneously, and arguably has too many now, at 80 probes, which leaves him at a max of 120 army supply. They've refilled yet again. What a bloodbath across the board here. Another disruptor shot. The Vikings chasing down the Colossi. Gets another observer. More disruptors wandering up. At least 3 robotics facilities. Fadeaway shot. The curveball's coming in, but so far, ByuN not striking out. DT is looking for another opportunity. Notably, no High Templar at all this game from Clem. Really trying the more direct-oriented options as opposed to the High Templar against the Ghosts. Goes past, blinks past the almost non-existent mineral line, knocks out a Liberator, but the Marauders will chase him down. The rest of the army down the center. More Stalkers gunned down. Charge lots come in, trying to catch the angle on the other side of the base. But it's just not enough. He doesn't have the damage concentrated. He needs the disruptor shots. His aim might be good. His hands are shaking. He's still getting headshots, but unfortunately heads have 25 more HP now. And disruptors aren't good enough. The continuing issue is that disruptors may land 1 shot, but rarely do they get 2. And 17 seconds is far too long to wait for another one. But a broadside volley. He's waiting for, he tries to back off. Splits off some. Parts the army, but more. Oh, that's so much Terran. Coming down from the north side. Double barrel, completely empty. Another disruptor volley. Gets a chunk of the army, but not nearly enough. Oh, but the stems. Too much. It's a disaster for both sides. And a counterattack. The DTs are slicing through the production. More charge lots warped in. The Marines and Marauders are in autumn colors. Accidentally loads up some of the units, but he stands his ground. There's not enough splash damage to wash him away. The production being eviscerated by the Dark Templar. And ByuN. Well, is it enough? It's a pseudo base trade here, as the center base will be taken down. The main base, the DTs have sliced through so much, the economies are almost non-existent now, where once both of them were mining on 2-3 bases, they're both struggling for 1, though Clem has a much more solid one, with just the 9 o'clock base right now. Another, he's long distance mining the probes. The base, and wow, that's spiteful. A pylon block at the 26-minute mark. Clem coming around again. Slices through more. And round we go. The DTs. The probe's still long distance mining. Hostile negotiations here. As, well, the trade agreement is quite odd to have at this stage. Meanwhile, the DT is finding so much damage. ByuN, 137 to 125 supply. Stalkers blink in, knock out a medevac, and phase right out. The command center burning. The Stalkers come in again. ByuN starting to bleed out, but Clem still, well, the struggle is still finding an army that actually wins the fight. He's got 2 Colossi yet again. It's been a long time since ByuN built anything but medevacs out of the starports. But a Viking has joined production yet again. Another orbital command's going to be taken down, bringing him to 4. And if the orbital count is too low, then the DTs find even more value. ByuN still maintaining a supply lead, but his income, he is on a mule-based economy at this stage. For the first time in quite a while, the mules will close the gap, as Clem is mining from like a grand total of 8 mineral patches, maybe 10. ByuN, about equal. Oh, the army? The Marauders split off. EMPs across most of the Stalkers, but knocks down the Liberator instantaneously. An Archon joins the fray, but look at that concave out of ByuN. Where are the disruptors? Where are the charge lots? The Terran army is stimming, and it's winning. He knocks down the Colossi, and Clem thought he could just burninate across the countryside, but instead ByuN turns it around. The Colossi topple, as does Clem. And another incredible chaotic brawl for game number 2. But this time around, ByuN is able to barely stim across the finish line. 241 zealots. 25 Ruptors. 106... ByuN lost more Marauders than he did Marines, which is the most ByuN thing I've ever seen. These two. I consider Clem to be ByuN's metaphorical son. Alright? The very first micro Terran who proved that if you just micro hard enough, you can win. Even when some might argue you shouldn't. That was ByuN. Including his world championship when he got Reapers nerfed against Dark. Come back to us, Dark. And Clem, well, taking it so many steps further. And now taking it to playing Protoss and being tied up 1-1, but it does feel like Clem just unable to bring together an army that will reliably contest the Terran. I don't know how much the patch... Well, Ghost being stronger against everything but Colossi, and Templar being less of a reliable option, clearly having an impact. But at some point... Well, it's unclear, because Clem, I feel like he did everything you need, which is cut off the production, cut off the economy, but at some point, you have to win the fight. And I don't think he ever won. Once again, same as Game 1. He never really won a decisive fight against the army. At best, it was a Pyrrhic victory that both sides stumbled away from with whatever units they had left. But he never really reset the medevac count entirely. He never reset the starport units. At least not without losing a huge amount of his own. So... And very interesting. It feels like Clem is limit testing right now with the patch. Going High Templar with Storm and Archons throughout most of the game on Winter Madness. And then not even building a Templar Archives on White Rabbit. Now, he built mostly High Templar on the Snowy map. And on the Dark Matrix map, he only built Dark Templar. I think that factors in. I don't, but I'm just saying. All right, just asking questions. Like, have you liked and subscribed? Or have you checked out the product tag with... Jimmy, do we have the thing? The G502 Lightspeed mouse. The main benefit of this mouse is it's wireless. Oh, and it has a lot of buttons. But when you want to rage about Protoss, you don't just need to not GG against Hero Clem, but you can throw this mouse all the way across the room and not have to worry about your USB cords. Because I know those valuable USB cords, which we don't have a sponsorship for, or a commission, are not things you want to break. So with a battery life of 100 hours, you can lose so many games to Protoss and still keep throwing your mouse across the room. Logitech, buy today. I think I've only thrown it once or twice. And usually it's just down on the desk. I actually, don't throw it. I mean, do what you want. But I'm not just Marines. Did we get the, it has to be 15 seconds on screen. There's weird rules about it. And there you go. G502 Lightspeed. 90% of the time, the wireless receiver works every time. The other 10%, it's super annoying. Really selling it. And now we have a full best of 3. This could be a 3-hour series. These two so evenly matched. Clem's Protoss versus ByuN's Terran. ByuN has decided 3 CCs, 3 barracks, 0 fucks. All right, this is how you play Terran right here. None of these fancy factory or starport units. Bunch of dudes with drugs, guns, and a irrational hatred of people who don't look like them. So it reminds me of home. And, well, we'll see if stimming and winning will carry him to yet another victory. As we're on Andromeda, by the way. To be honest, some pretty, not slow, but relatively macro-oriented starts. Though, as I say it, it's a 4-gate blank with a prism for Clem, so he's not all in, but he needs to get some damage done here. Cutting a few probes in order to get these stalkers out. And the fact is, ByuN has 3 command centers and 3 racks. If this doesn't do a bunch of damage, Clem is in a terrible spot. He's not going to have the army. He's not going to have splash damage. He's going to have a real problem on the other side. The bunker's holding for now. Blink is completed, but that's a bunch of bio and plenty of marauders. Stim and combat shield not done, though. The SCV's pulled. Trying to make sure he's got the main base covered. The bunker actually holding throughout all this. Are there enough stalkers to just blunk on it? Just gonna go for the Marines. Gets a couple more, blinks away. Stim is now done. Still a long way off medevacs for ByuN. Blunks forward. 2 volleys, takes it down, but the Stim returns fire. Ghetto blinking back the stalkers, juggling with the War Prism, but going to lose several on the way. Near perfect micro, though, out of Clem. And, ByuN? Now, this is going to demonstrate why, usually, you don't go for just pure barracks. Because against a competent Blink micro player, they can kind of just kite you to the ends of the earth. So... Jimmy! What? Well, thank you. But also, what? Well, the Blink Stalker's turning it around. Medevacs will keep ByuN going, but a lot of his units already in pumpkin spice colors. And, things getting even more spooky as time goes on. Clem behind it. Charge +1. already in production. Charge about to complete. Plenty more gates. Looking to keep the aggression up here. Some chew toy supply depots. Metaphorically, of course, as Protoss don't have mouths. On the high ground to try to draw out the charges. Meanwhile, Clem move command through, make sure the charges land, blinks forward, knocks down one medevac, gets two. Tries to target down some of the Marauders. Warp Prism's still intact. There's barely any anti-here to deal with it. Juggles the charge lots into the Prism, chases into the main. And, well, he can warp in another round. Gonna eat some of the Widowmine hits with the charge lots. Another round as well. Tries to dodge the hit. Doesn't quite do so, but he gets the charge lot out of there. Blinkstalker's coming in again, trying to get some more damage done. ByuN supply still pretty healthy. And without the Prism to help micro back, he has to be very careful with the Blinkstalkers. Observer charge lots. And I can't help but think Clem's getting a little bit too fancy for his own britches here. And I assume as a Frenchman, they're very fancy. Or as someone who's playing video games at home, they might be non-existent. But that's enough discussion about that. Moving. The Observer's in place to spot, but ByuN, despite the losses, is continually building up supply. And Clem doesn't have any splash damage. He's reliant on knocking down these medevacs and taking cost-effective fights with the charge lots. And so far, well, the charge lots in the main. Citizens arrest from the SCVs. More charge lots dropping out. ByuN starting to dip. The reinforcements out of position. The medevac's exposed. Blinks back. 12 SCVs now. Round of mules. The upgrades, +1 versus +1. Clem about to finish +1 armor. Still 20 seconds. Here's an immortal. The orbital command is burning, by the way. SCV's pulled. Gonna chase another round of charge lots. Warp Prism comes back around. And warps a huge round into the main. And Clem's momentum continues forward. He's not giving him a moment to breathe. Oh, and 7, 8 SCVs dead. And Clem, I think he's done it. Just blunking his way through, knocks down another medevac. And the Clempire strikes back. Clem just continues warping in across the map. He keeps the Warp Prism alive. The real hero unit there. And ByuN, it looked like he might stabilize, but he never stopped the damage. The trickle became a flood, and the charge lots were streaming through it. Just far too much by the end. If he takes out the Prism, ByuN stabilizes and turns it around. But the Prism lived throughout all that. In fact, I don't even think he took hull damage on the Prism. Really focusing on the important things. And now Clem is up 2-1. Ready to prove that Protoss still capable of taking on Terran, despite rumors of its impending demise. I will say, from an editorializing and personal perspective, and I said I would give my my bias is good games for the fans. I want games that are fun to watch. I think these games have been a lot of fun, but it is a little frustrating to see the Protoss army be so reliant on taking lopsided fights or else just getting completely cleared. The Ghost being stronger and the Viking being cheaper feels like it just makes Terran stronger in the parts where it was already strong, like when you already have that full unit composition. Whereas Protoss hitting those kind of lopsided timings with blink and then charge, and then later on with all the splash damage, like we saw at the very end of the game on Winter Madness, is still such a struggle to deal with for mere mortals. So pretty much everyone below ByuN, which is everyone but Maru, Cure, and the person playing Protoss. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I do think the patch does shake things up, but it kind of settles in the similar spot it was before it, with Protoss having a little more struggle in the later game against Terran, but still being quite strong in the late game against Zerg, if we ever see any of those again. Just to be clear, and I feel obligated... Oh, you're not supposed to lose your probe. That was not ideal. Don't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. I don't feel obligated just because of how many comments I saw just assuming Protoss is in dire straits and is unlikely to have any chance. Well, currently, the win rate for Protoss against Zerg in the last patch was around 60% in professional games. The win rate for Protoss against Terran was 55. 55. Now, that counts all games. That's like Percival versus Hero, not just Clem versus ByuN, or Clem is Protoss, which is kind of that. But currently, Zerg still heavily underrepresented because Cyril only shows up for the big bucks. Raynor would like to, but he just doesn't have a lot of fun with it. And then that leaves only our Korean players. But Clem putting one to the test here. Chops down another SCV. Revenge for the probe. I really thought I'd have like a couple minutes to monologue, but Clem decided to do just a straight up gateway pressure here. 2 Adepts versus 5 Marines. I don't think the numbers... Yeah, they spelled disaster. Chrono boosting probes back at home. Snipes off another... Well, he's trying to snipe off the Marines, which I think he's baited ByuN into thinking that he's going for a Stargate. Because rarely do you make more than 1 Adept unless you're going Stargate. This is to try to keep pressure on without spending too much gas. So, ByuN is building a Cyclone, which is definitely more of an anti-Stargate option. But now a Cyclone is not bad. It's just not as good, usually, as a Widowmine drop or even a Siege Tank push. It's just kind of a catch-all option, especially now that we finally fixed the lock-on bug, and it has its normal lock-on time that it was supposed to the whole time. Only 10 months of having a, like, 2-second faster lock-on cooldown than it was supposed to. No problem. Including the World Cup. I'm not salty. That was 2 truths and a lie. Well, here comes ByuN. Cyclone at half HP, but with the medevac, he can juggle it. We'll see. Knocks out one of the Stalkers, walks up to the others, just loses the Cyclone, picks up the Marines. Gotta say, not exactly Clem-like micro there, but keeps him busy. And back at home, ByuN, he's got the Bulwark. Wow. The defensive line with the... This is something Clem really started doing in all his matches against Max Packs and has become the standard. The Bulwark to zone out the Blink Stalkers. Trying to stop the Blink Stalkers from getting into your base is usually a fool's errand, but you can make their life very difficult and or short with exactly this scenario. But he didn't... Wait, is that a wall? Okay. The Stalkers tripping over each other, but the Marine drop just targeting Oh, no! 10 probes, 11 probes! It's a disaster! 11 probes dead! It doesn't really matter how much damage... Well, the Blink Stalkers need to do an inordinate amount of damage now, just to even get close to evening this out. Clem clearly focused on the Blink, and, well, he missed it back at home. The Marines just gunning down nearly a dozen probes, and being behind in workers against a Terran who's currently going for stim and +1 is a recipe for impending disaster. Not that Protoss would know what recipes are, but Clem is a full-time Terran and a part-time Protoss, so he should at least be able to pick up on that reference. Observer, still going to try to spot. He sees the Siege Tank, just trying to find any sort of angle. But... ByuN acutely aware. Another Observer coming up. Clem chrono boosting probes, but this is a similar scenario in general to where we were last game, but in practice is very different. It's going to be Blink into charge up against a bio timing. But this time around, ByuN is going to have the triple threat. He's going to have the stim, the combat shield, the +1, all coming together, while Clem needs to put together his economy and his production. He's not going to have that many units on the field, and there's going to be plenty of army supply for ByuN to deal with anything but an overwhelming number of charge lanes. Really, the physical size of the bio ball. The physical size of it is relevant. When you have enough Marines and Marauders to cover literally for one another and keep the charge lots from chopping through the edges and getting the surface area, that's when splash damage becomes mandatory. You can maybe shave away a Marine there, a Marauder there, but this is going to be a lot of bio coming across the map. Meanwhile, though, a very well-timed Warp Prism slipping into the main. The reinforcement's more than ready. Can he get the Prism? Stutter step? Not enough. He gets out in time. And trying to buy time across the map. That's 3 sentries. Force fields locks him in. And actually decent, well, emotional support fields mostly. But they keep the reinforcements from chasing. And they force ByuN to stay at arm's length, at least for now. The charge lot's trying to deny the base. Clem has successfully survived for long enough to get the economic lead and to start Colossus production. But how much further can he go from there? Warp Prism drops off another Zealot. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Clem has to be careful. Widow Mines complementing the army. Can easily thin out the Zealots if they get too close too quickly. Charge lots. Gonna catch one unlucky Marauder. But gives him a little bit of warning coming in with another round. Looks like he wanted to save the Zealots from the Widow Mines, but instead won't be saving anyone at all. ByuN holding for now. Clem has managed to retake the initiative, though has to be very careful not to overcommit. This is not much army at all. Oh, wow. Not intimidated even a little bit. The Warp Prism will save the Colossus for now. Oh, he needs to drop out. No! The Stalker! Just in time, but now the Prism. And, oh my. A strong gust of, what are you doing? Drop that Colossus! Ah! The Vikings having a field day as they knock out the Warp Prism and the Colossus. The Zealots will just evaporate under the bio. And another Colossus comes up, but right now the only thing that's really up is Extended Thermal Lance as well as ByuN supply. As Clem, sometimes when you play with fire you get burned. Trying to keep ByuN contained and take those strong fights right at the edge of the third base. The downside is if you step a little bit too far, you get your legs chopped off by Marines, Marauders, and your Colossi cut down by Vikings. He was trying to fight a delaying action. But now, ByuN has map control. He has the ability to pick a fight on his terms, as long as he knows where Clem is. Obviously, that's kind of important on setting the terms. It was implied that EMP, I think that was a misclick. Oh, he was trying to unburrow them. Fourth command center's on the way. 2-2 has begun for ByuN. +2 weapons completed for Clem. It's just got +1 armor started, as well as +3. Charge lot headed north. Here on Magnetic North. 3 more racks on the way. This map kind of, even in the few games we've seen, kind of notoriously hard to break those first 3 bases. Just, there's almost no unit composition that we've already seen Clem break on ByuN's bases time and time again. It can absolutely be unbreakable. It's just eventually, if he's able to overwhelm him on the field But if you fight into that defensive location, you know you're going to lose more. It's just, do you have enough to replace it? ByuN down the center. Clem. Charged lots, headed over to the right side. 3 Colossi with the main army. No Templar. EMP, not finding the sentries, nor most of the army. That base to the north is going to be the focal point. Clem wants it. He wants to keep him off the economy. Can he do so, though? The Vikings in a good position. Charge lots. Filtering through, but the reinforcements are already there. The force fields are... Well, they'll stop the Marauders from chasing, but 4 Vikings at a time. The Widow Mine in the center. The siege tanks. Oh no, the Widow Mine hits the Colossus of all things. Ship weapons level 1 is completed. Fusion core is on the way. Tutu's about to complete for ByuN. I think he's going to be looking for a fight. With 200 supply and the 2-2 upgrades, it's not going to get any better for quite a while yet. Knocks out some of the charge. Not 7 SCVs, 8 SCVs, 9 SCVs. They got the little counter there for me. A full 10 by the end. But ByuN is maxed out. He's got the upgrades. Coming around the corner between a rock and a hard place isn't ideal. But he has enough Vikings. Knocks down 1 Colossus. Bruises another. Stalkers cut down about half their number. But stimming forward. Guardian Shield gonna help. But is it gonna help enough? Continuing to stim. Reinforcing Vikings. Ghosts land the EMPs. Still 2 Colossi standing tall. Getting so much damage across the bow. Medivacs not able to heal enough in time. Charge lots reinforcing. Clem still with 78 probes on the other side of the map. He's got 10 gateways and 2 robos to reinforce. A dark shrine is on the way, and another 2 gateways, making an even dozen. Is that enough? The Colossi, the Zealots, and the Stalkers, oh my. The gateway units presided over. Still, no Stargate, no Templar archives. Only now going for that Shrine to Dark. The #1 player in the world. Ranked by Dark. 3 more command centers for ByuN. Getting comfortable and hardening his shell. 3-3 upgrades on the way. Has decided to sit back and let Clem come to him. The EMPs finding the concave there. Colossus knocked down. The Viking count is so high and just not respecting the army at all. Knocks down another Colossus. Kites back a bit. 2 volleys though. 3. And that's enough to take down the Colossi in the bio ball. What's keeping him from just fighting this army? I think the only thing keeping him from fighting is not realizing that that's all there is. The charge lot's not going to be enough. 1 immortal. Charge lots just evaporate. And ByuN tearing through everything. Immortals are not going to cut it, even against the mass marauder. Without the splash damage, strips away the shields down the center. The ghosts leading the charge. They don't take bonus damage from anything here. And the ghosts with as much HP as the marauders. Tanking so much. Cut down finally, but look at the supply. More sentries, more Colossi. But ByuN starting to run away with it. Wow. Well, the Y-axis mostly telling the story. The incomes have been nearly even the whole time, really dependent on the heart palpitations of mules there in the income tab. The army size has been in ByuN's favor for the majority of the game. And now, it may be the rest of it. There's no splash damage. 3-3's done. That army just got way stronger. The DTs. Will he notice? Does he have the scans? No? Okay, yes. Honestly, more damage than I expected. Enough to break it? Yeah. Knocks out another Viking. More Colossi. The DT is going to cut off the reinforcements, and this game has managed to extend much further than I thought it would. But not nearly as far as I thought it could. Clem starting to claw back. Loses 3 DTs, though, on the field. ByuN has not really touched his economy. All right, he's been brawling on the field over and over and over and over again. This has been such a bout between these two. Yes, they've gone for bases and workers, but the sheer... Did you know you can blink out of snipe? I guess if it's out of range. I think if he was still in range, it still would have connected. But the amount of units outright dying is, I feel like, unprecedented. I've never seen a match quite this, both action-packed and brutal, especially outside of, like, Terran versus Zerg. The Liberator's over the top. Just the sheer mass of Protoss, but the concave of Terran. The Liberator's covering. A Disruptor! A huge hit to open things up. A Colossus gonna tumble. The Stalker's coming around the corner. This is a set of rocks you can take down. Wow, that's the smallest set of rocks. 2,000 HP for that little thing. All right. It's tough, okay. Dense. Like the YouTube comments. On other people's channels, obviously. Not mine. Mine are intellectual beacons. The smartest, the most enlightened. And speaking of beacons, Clem does not have one, but instead just plenty of gates and a whole lot of units on the field, but he comes around the corner, snipes the Zealots of all things. I guess the most likely unit to be sniped. Disruptor shot, completely empty. And the gateway unit's being strung out. Disruptor could easily be targeted. And more reinforcements. Charge lot streaming in. Finally, the medevac count looking high enough here. And Clem, unable to break through. Just GG. He taps out. Technical knockout for ByuN. Crazy how these games... Holy sh... One sensor tower, one turret, and one pylon. When I say brawl, I mean, like, it felt like buildings were almost invulnerable. How? 256 units to 285. 200 zealots. Wow, that made up almost 2/3. Over 2/3 of the army, but... Wow. Almost no buildings at all. No bases. But Clem knows he's beat. Missing you today. What could this map mean? This map, both match point and potentially a cry for help. Just like the tile set. Wow, that is... I don't think I've ever seen something... We've had our share of jungle and forest maps, but I've never seen something this shuffleboard green. I kind of love it. Wow. It's certainly unique. And we're all tied up. Game number 5. ByuN's Terran versus Clem's Protoss. And can we just, like... I've talked about the patch. I've talked about how amazing Wardy is, right? And putting on the map contest for at least a decade now. Wardy, the pillar of the community that I desperately hang on to for replays and hope he trickles them down to me. Thank you so much. Literally couldn't do it without him. And all the community organizations. Cranky Ducklings, Comeback TV, the French organization, Enki, a Spanish caster, the SC Evo community. I'm just here to yell at the video games, but organizing and administrating and keeping the tournaments going, even if they are filled with 50% Protoss versus Protoss, still, that's not the tournament organizer's fault. But thank you very much. Make sure to check them out if you got the opportunity. That means the motivation. But the fact that Clem is our first truly biracial player in StarCraft 2. At this point, it started out like Raynor has... The first player in a high-profile match to switch race was Scarlet, I believe, against Dong Rei Gu in MLG of 2013, I want to say. I know I was there in person back when MLG had things that people cared about. Does MLG even still exist? I assume there's like a few hundred aging dudes playing Call of Duty that are still in MLG. But past that, I doubt it. But anyways. Where was I? Oh yeah, Scarlet switching to Protoss. Funny how that works. To beat DRG in a massive, and that was a single game and like a well-prepared all-in. Clem, on the other hand, has just decided he's doing what one of us. Everyone hates mirror matchups. You're like, I don't hate mirror matchups. All right, that's the officer. What a save, by the way. Concussive shells Marauder first. But Clem just decided instead of getting better at Terran versus Terran, and both for his sake and for the sake of, you know, us casters, mirror matchups are the third rail, according to the algorithm. Now, TVT is probably the most palatable for most, but even Protoss versus Terran still, an order of magnitude more popular. And just know, if you're the one like, I watch all of your videos, well, thank you. All right? You're not who the clickbait's for, okay? I'll tell you. Unfortunately, it works. And we have the statisticals to prove it. I still want people to be interested or re-interested in this. I know. Jim, it's game 5, Jimmy. I can pontificate. All right, people are barely listening at this point. But after 15 years of StarCraft 2, we're getting patches again. We're getting maps again. Now, patches and maps that it's kind of unclear what the whole process is. But the fact that we're no longer reliant on the intern having a quarterly lunch break to casually push a patch that was seemingly voted on by players whose livelihood is dependent on their race doing well in tournaments, which, you know, seems like the most conflict you could ever have of interest. But who else was going to do it? But now Blizzard is back, implementing not only the patches, but bug fixes to things that have been long-standing, like animation bugs, a whole bunch of little quirks that you may or may not notice if you actually play the game, but things like the Cyclone bug finally fixed, but much more than that. So it's a new age of StarCraft 2. What will come of it? I paused for too long. It made it sound very melancholic. And it is a little. But what will come of it? It's unclear. But what is clear is that Clem is very well aware of ByuN's 3 racks Marauder push. He sits back, he makes sure that he doesn't get overwhelmed, not even going to bother trying to get damage done with Blink. The Observer is the first unit killed. This map is so good. The tile set is so crazy. And also mismatched. All right. You know, this tile set, much like whoever made the map, is a mess right now. Missing you today. I still miss you, infested Terrans. Sorry. You're goddamn right! Now we have to do all the anti-air. Brenda! Sorry. Hatchery Owners Association is always on my back. Well, ByuN. This is a single space ramp. There's actually multiple ramps here. This is one of our multi-layered maps, like an onion or a cake. Or... Yep, that's it. That's all I got. Or an international packaging company. Or these jokes about them. But Guardian Shield targets the sentry. Just gonna try to stim from the high ground. Now that stim is permanent damage. No medevacs with the army. And the charge lots... He really hates observers. Do not let the boy watch. Charge is done. Forcing out the stim is even more damage. Softens it up for the Blink Stalkers, but the medevacs are out. So... Gotta be careful with blinking. And gets to the high ground. The charge lot's coming through. Where are the medevacs? Finally on the field. But so many of these units vulnerable. Can he get a Marauder? Knocks out another one. Blinks back in time. And extended thermal lance is already on the way. ByuN again finishes the command center a moment before the gateway units come in. I am loving this map. This is crazy. It's like an arcade game. It's like one of those arena backgrounds, but I'm not just liking it, I am loving it, which is weird. Just like whoever made this map was loving whoever they're missing today, I assume. We still remember you, Mothership Core. No! It's time to stop. Colossus on station. That's real. Which ByuN? Well, ByuN trying to make it us so. An Immortal. Clem fighting. He has the supply lead, but, well... Huh. It's kind of an odd time. He's getting a 4th base behind. ByuN has 1-1 against just +1 attack. Clem now starts +2. Dodging shots with the Medivacs. He's... another Colossus just stepping up to the plate here. A little bit late on microing the Widowmine. Tries to draw another shot. Huge draw on that Widowmine into the army. Force field's a bit optimistic. Another shot taken out. The Zealots trying to eat the Widowmine. Hit splits it at the last second. Extended thermal lance is almost done. The base itself under fire and on fire. The boys are pulled. ByuN's just going for it. There's no force fields here. The SCVs, the Vikings over the top. Trying to target him down. Successfully does though. ByuN. Not enough left over to deal with the Colossi and Clem turning the tides back towards his metaphorical father. ByuN now on the ropes. A Colossus has to be careful not to tread on the toes of its team. That Colossus at how much HP? 5 HP. Even an SCV. EMP across the board. The Vikings try to take it down. And 1, 2, but that's not enough. The charge lots past the front. 14 SCVs slaughtered. And the Bio army might still be alive, but the economy is barely holding it together. A single-digit number of Marines, Marauders, and now a few Ghosts mixed into the fray. A single Colossus, another EMP. The Medivacs are out of energy, and not because they got caught by a stray EMP, but because these Marines and Marauders just won't stop stimming. Oh my, another brawl, and the game is over, and Clem defeats ByuN with his Protoss 3 games to 2. Some of the most action-packed, back-and-forth, brutal games that I have ever seen. They weren't perfect, but they were certainly evenly matched. Both players really testing the edges of the new patch. Clem realizing that maintaining that level of aggression, well, he tried every game. He just didn't succeed every game. ByuN, so close to stabilizing in all of his losses. In fact, I think that game on Winter Madness, ByuN has to go back and kick himself a few dozen times about diving on the Archons after 30 minutes of playing Will They, Won't They. But maybe 30 minutes of playing Will They, Won't They will keep you from missing them today. Love the map. But Clem, with Protoss, defeats the second best non-Clem Terran in the world. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But it was a victory. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Just like you might enjoy the G502 Lightspeed mouse, which, did we get the timestamp? Okay, sorry, I didn't. But if you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Wardy. Thank you to our Mule Tier patrons, Big Jiggy, Devin, Dordrak, Kate, Mario, Suit, and to everyone. Thank you for spending such a chunk of your day with me. I hope I made it a little bit better. I hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.